So I wrote my personal speech story of the first time I got pulled over and didn't tell my parents. This is JJ, that's Trinity, that's Mama, Granny's on the phone, and Daddy's right here. So let's begin. You ever find yourself hiding something to then later tell on yourself? Well, let me tell you about my experience. As I encounter many new people, I often tell them about this experience. It's one of my favorite experiences I find quite funny now. Let me start by saying this experience was by far the worst experience I had in my life. This would be the first time I had gotten pulled over for speeding. This day I thought my parents were going to kill me and I was going to be grounded for the rest of my life, or until I moved out on my own. So in order for me to live out my days, I never said anything about it. This happens after I hang out with my friends and realize how late it is getting, and looking at the clock wondering if I might make it home by curfew. I was 17 at the time. It was one of the first nights I had been out on my own with my new car. My mom and dad knew of where I was going and where I was at as well. I also had a curfew to be home by, so I knew I couldn't be as late as I wanted to. I was hanging out with some friends at a bonfire and decided to meet up with them and drive over to their house. Most of the night was fun until I had to go home. Heading home, I took the road 109, as most of you might know. It does go through the Gallatin and Franklin area. I didn't think much of heading home that night. I had my music up. I wasn't paying attention to the road and everything in front of me. I kept looking at the time, wondering if I was going to make it in time. In doing this, I also didn't notice I was speeding into I was going 60 into a 40 miles per hour road. I had to be home by 11:30. At that time, I do recall it was like 11:20, 11:25, and I was speeding to get home. As I was speeding, I saw a cop at the end of the road. As I was passing him, I saw his lights go on and his siren go off as well. I slowed down and waited till he caught up with me. He then proceeded to get out his car. As he was getting out his car, I started to tear up, realizing that this was actually real. It wasn't fake. I wasn't dreaming of it. And when he got to my window, he asked for my insurance, my information, took it back to his car. After he got all my information, he brought it back up, and he told me since this was my first time, he would let me go. On the way home, I was more worried about how my parents would act if I told them I got pulled over for speeding, especially going 60 into a 40 miles per hour. So I kept it a secret from them for about a week and was worried that they might hear it from someone else other than myself, because we do live in a small town. So I told them. They laughed at me, and I didn't think they heard me the first time since they laughed, so I repeated myself, thinking that they were supposed to be mad at me, thinking that they were supposed to yell at me because I was speeding. But in the end, they weren't. They just told me next time to be better with time management and make sure I have time to get home, or even to call them to let them know that I was going to be late. In the end, I've learned to not speed, pay attention to the road, and I also have realized that parents aren't as bad as we think they are, even when ratting yourself out.